Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by WordPress. Reach more customers when you build your business website on WordPress.com. Plans start at just $4 a month. Get 15% off any new plan at WordPress.com/knowhow. Today on Know-How,
Synology Madness 2.
Welcome to Know-How. It's a Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I am Father Robert Palliser.
I'm Jason Howell.
And for the next however many minutes it takes, we're going to be opening up your head and shoving in Rob Schneider.
Do we have the proper tools to do that? Wait a minute. We were talking pre-show. There's no reason that we need to bring Rob into this.
We really don't have to.
Okay? Rob, just settle down.
If you want to know what that was all about, you should have been watching the pre-show.
Or maybe not, because it involved Rob Schneider.
It did.
Really, we don't need any Rob Schneider.
Oh, Jason, 2 weeks ago we did Synology Madness Part 1.
Yeah.
People loved it.
Yeah, I know.
They wanted more.
It's like on fire on YouTube.
On fire. Mm-hmm. But, it's because people like this idea of very useful tech that you can get for not that much money that does a whole lot of things. Now, last time we showed you how you could get into your box securely from anywhere, basically creating your own tiny little cloud. Well, we're going to...
That required a very big box in my case.
Right.
Get into it.
Well, of course. I mean...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let myself out.
Take that one back. Oh, but we want to show them some of the other capabilities. And this time I wanted to focus a bit more on some video stuff.
Yeah.
Is that cool with you?
That kind of ramps up the complexity a little bit, right? Yeah. You need higher bandwidth, throughput, all that kind of stuff. Because those files are big.
They're huge. And specifically, I wanted to give them two little bits and pieces. The first is using your Synology NAS, or actually you could probably even do it with the router now because they've got the plugins for that, as a video server for network security cameras.
Cool.
Now, we've done a little bit of this like a year and a half ago, I believe is the last time we touched it, but we just did a very general introduction, things that you would need and how you get it set up. I wanted to go a little deeper into how you could actually roll your own network security camera system.
Cool. Like how deep are we going? Is this like a 16 camera system? Is this like a basic camera system? How deep can you go with Synology?
So what we're going to do is we're going to show them one camera, but we're going to give them the procedure for doing 10 cameras, 16 cameras, how many ever they want. I mean, the process will be the same.
Yeah.
What we need to do is we need to show them which cameras they should get, how to hook them up, how to run the software on the NAS, how to configure the software, and then how to set up the individual parameters so things like patrol zones are set up, or to make sure that the recordings get recycled on a regular basis so that you're not just filling the entire drive up with videos from a year and a half ago.
Yeah, you don't need to catalog all that video. At a certain point, it kind of drops out of necessity of keeping it and having to refer to it at any point.
Precisely. Yeah. But the other thing I wanted to do was something a little bit fun. And for anyone who's got a phone or a laptop that you take away, sometimes, I know it's not as urgent now as it used to be in previous years, but sometimes you want to be able to take your media with you and say your local television with you. Well, there's a very nice plugin for the Synology system called Plex. You might have heard of it.
I've heard of Plex.
Kind of a big deal. But we're going to show you some basics of Plex before next time we go whole hog on Plex.
Okay.
Does that sound cool?
Sounds great.
All right, let's do it. The first thing we want to do is look at your cameras. Now, I get this all the time. What cameras do you trust? What cameras can I get? How much is going to cost me? Now, my thing is, if you get a camera, you have to make sure it's from a company that actually updates their firmware.
How do you know this?
Well, you just look at the frequency of updates. Like, look at their history. And last time we had these on, I wasn't 100% ready to recommend them because I didn't know about that upgrade cycle. Now that I've had this for about 18 months, 100% yes. They've done 3 updates for this since they released this camera. This is the Amcrest Pro HS. It's a 1080p security camera. Now, there are a couple things I love about this. If you go to the overhead, this is a dual connectivity camera. So I've got both Ethernet and I've got wireless. I'm a big fan of not using wireless for anything that's security related. Just because it's easy to disrupt, and you don't want it to be down at the one moment that you needed to capture something, right?
Yeah, wireless is nice. It can be convenient, but it can also, there can be breaks, and you don't really know when that happens.
Precisely.
And when it's security, you don't want that to ever happen.
That would be like, oh, look, that one camera that could have gotten the person who broke my house.
Oh, great, I've got this on tape. Great, this. Oh, never mind.
Yeah. Now, one thing you won't get, like you get with the old cameras, is you won't get static. It just won't, there will be no recording. Black.
Right.
The other thing is, and Burke, if you go to this, I really like this, the overhead. That is actually a card slot. So what you can do is you can put in a micro SD card here, up to 64 gigabytes, and it will record to the local card. So even if somehow they're able to disable your network, as long as this thing is getting power, it's still recording.
That's a really nice feature.
Yeah.
And then, so does it do kind of like a round robin sort of thing?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, Jason, because we might be showing people how to do that using the Synology NAS.
No way!
Did you look at the notes?
Amazing.
You
Well, they're right in front of me.
Well, so take a look. If you, hold on. Actually, if you go to my computer now, I just want to show you what my typical daily works like. Yeah, Windows wants to update, and I'm like, no, please go away. Thank you. All right, so this is actually the camera interface. I have it set up for 1080p. It's doing, I think, 10 frames a second. And the reason why I have the frame rate down is because I don't want it to be using up too much bandwidth. I could just do this, Jason. It's a PTZ. There we go.
Whoa!
Wait. What?
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Don't
Okay.
Don't tase me,
Hold
bro.
on.
Don't
Hold
tase
on.
me.
Burke, overhead shot. Overhead shot.
Yeah, I know. It's starting to go to that.
No, don't do that, Padre. You have no idea what I'm about to do.
Whoa! What? Why would you do that, you monster?
Because this is what you do. You take them off.
The plastic keeps it new, man.
No, the plastic keeps it looking like it has plastic on it. That's what the plastic does.
Look,
anyways.
I just took the plastic off this laptop. It's a 5-year-old laptop. It looks brand new because I just took the plastic off.
Yeah, well, now you got the plastic off this too.
See, grumble.
All right. Continue on.
No, so this is a Sony IMX 322 chip, which does 1080p up to 30 frames per second. It's Wi-Fi and Ethernet, 90-degree viewing angle, which is what I kind of like that. You go from side to side. It's pan, tilt, and digital zoom. The more expensive cameras will do optical zoom. This one will do digital, which is, it's not bad. I just prefer optical. It also has an IR mode. So if you're doing this at night, that little ring from which you just removed the plastic.
It looks beautiful.
It's actually a series of infrared LEDs, so it can light up even in total darkness.
Okay.
Which I kind of like.
That's great.
Right? Oh, and Burke's bringing the house lights down a little bit. Oh, actually, you know what? We can show people Burke. Where's the Burke? There's the Burke. Oh, there we go.
Enhance.
In the hands. So this is a decent one, and actually, Burke, if you go to the link, the price has even come down on this. It's $130 for a 2-pack. So that is completely reasonable. And the image quality is actually spectacular. This is the same line of image processor that you would get in flagship Samsung or iPhone.
Okay.
Slightly less because they don't need a 4K sensor in it. But it's the same line, same assembly line. And the quality is actually really good for what amounts to a $65 camera.
Yeah, that looks pretty great.
Yeah, it will also do audio, so it can record audio. If you want to do that, I don't find audio from security cameras particularly useful, but.
Well, yeah, it has audio in and audio out.
Right. So if you wanted to hook up a speaker to this, so people could actually hear you rather than having it sound like, "Hey, what are you doing in my house?" Oh, by the way, this one thing in the back, I know people are going to ask about this. If you go to the overhead, this is an I/O block. So what it allows me to do is to hook up to door sensors or window sensors.
Oh, okay.
So you can trigger an alarm through here.
So motion happens, the door opens.
Well, the motion's built into the camera.
Right. The motion's built into the camera, but like the door, the sensor on the door breaks. That communicates to this to tell it to start recording.
Well, or it could say, hey, a sensor triggers and it will rotate the camera straight to that area.
That's nice.
That's kind of cool.
Like that.
So this is the camera that we're going to be using, but what we need to do is we need to go ahead and install something into our NAS so that it can actually use that camera. Now, this is the basic operating system of any Synology NAS. This is their DSM. What I love about this is from the least expensive to the most expensive, it works exactly the same. From the consumer level to the enterprise level, it works the same. So if you learn how to use one, you'll know how to use all of them. Last time we were using a 713. This is a 1517 Plus. This is far more powerful. We'll go into that a little bit later.
Okay.
But what we're going to do is we're going to start with Package Center. And what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and install a package. Oop. There we go. Yes, yes, yes. Called Surveillance Station. And here we go. This is how easy it is to install on a Synology NAS. I just do this. Now it's all Linux based, so it's going to download the package and install it. Now while we're downloading, why don't we go and talk a little bit about some of the reasons why I set this up the way I set it up, because this is a little bit different. You may notice we've got a router here, and then I've actually got another one under the table. What I've actually done is I've done what's called dual homing of this NAS. I've got two different networks, one that's only going to be the network cameras plus the NAS, and the other one that's going to be the NAS plus all the other devices in my network.
Okay, explain, because I'm suddenly very confused.
Right, so this is the 3 dumb router setup that we talked about on Know How a couple of years back, where you have your incoming internet connection goes to one router.
Okay.
That one router splits off to 2 routers. One is untrusted and one is trusted.
Ah,
The reason why you do
makes
that
a lot of sense.
is because you don't want any devices on the untrusted network to have access to any of the devices on the trusted
Right.
network.
Okay.
Now, the Synology NAS acts as a bridge. It's going to be connected to both networks. And I'm okay with doing that because they do an excellent job of updating their firmware. So I'm not really worried about a pivot, someone infecting this and then getting across to the secured network. But this does a couple things. One, it makes sure that my cameras, which are semi-trusted, but if something happens and they happen to get owned, because they are Internet of Things,
Right.
they won't be able to touch any of the devices on my trusted network. The other thing it does is it increases performance, because I am segmenting some of the top talkers off my network. By using 2 different LANs, one connected to LAN port 1, one connected to LAN port 2, and I've got 6 on this, by the way, so I could connect it to 6 different networks.
Sure.
It allows me to have full bandwidth available for my network cameras, but it doesn't affect any of my devices. So if I'm like streaming, if I'm pulling stuff from the NAS, my devices on the trusted network will not suffer from bandwidth degradation.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I know all about that bandwidth degradation.
Right?
For my house.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that, if you're going to install a network security camera, these things, if you set them for top resolution, they can suck down 5 megabits per second.
Yeah.
Well, you multiply that by 4 or 5 cameras, and now, that's why everything's running slowly. They may not be going off over the internet, but they're still using up your internal bandwidth, and especially if they're wireless, because wireless is notorious for having the multi-device degradation issue, which is the more devices you put on, the less bandwidth you actually have, because they're all screaming into the air.
Yeah, and if you have, let's say, 20 megabits per second as your kind of your maximum, for these cameras, sure, that might fit within the 20 megabits per second transfer, but it leaves no room for anything else.
Precisely.
Which is the problem that I would have if I had a system like this in my home.
It's a great network camera system.
I don't have unlimited bandwidth. Yeah, exactly.
I can't access my printer anymore, but but the cameras are awesome.
No good, no good.
Okay, if you come back to my computer, this has gone ahead and installed. Now, I do want to add one little installation note here, see if I can make this bigger. There we go. And that is, when you get to this screen, so, by the way, this is free, so if you have Synology NASs, this is just something you can get for free. You want to enable a customized HTTPS port. It's going to be encrypted, it's secure. You always want HTTPS over HTTP. But the other reason why you do this is if you don't turn this on, it means that anytime you want to access Surveillance Station from a computer, you have to go first log into the NAS and then log into Surveillance Station.
Okay.
By turning this on, you're essentially creating a service on the NAS, and that service, you can now go straight to that service, straight to Surveillance Station.
Very nice, without hampering the security model.
Right, no.
Okay.
And again, it's because they've done a really good job of locking this thing down. Then you're gonna get to this. This is just sort of the EULA. It's like, I want you to go ahead and do it and be happy. That's going to go ahead and install that package. While it's installing that package, what I'd like to do is jump over here, and I want to show you what I've done with the network. So I've gone into the network interface, and as you can see, I've got 6 network interfaces here. And that first one, all of these others, so 2 through 6 are set for DHCP. When I plug them into a network, they would just automatically get an address, right?
Right.
This one is not that case. If I go into the edit here, I've given it a static address, so 192.168.200.200, which means that I will always know where this device is located. But, Burke, if you go back to that computer, what I can also do is I can set a static address for LAN 2, which I don't have connected right now because we're going to be doing that in the demo. And I could set that for, say, 192.168.100.1, which is the other router. So now I'd have a static spot on 2 different networks, 2 different routers.
Okay.
Okay, which means the devices on either of those networks can access the NAS, but the devices on either of those networks cannot access the other network through the NAS.
Got it. Okay.
Cool?
Yep.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Let's go back to our installation because we're doing everything here in real time. No trickery. All right, so it's gone ahead and installed, and now I'm going to go ahead and open up Surveillance Station. So
pulling into Surveillance Station.
Here we go. Now, right now, there's nothing in here. It's totally empty. And what we need to do is we need to tell it where our cameras are. I'm going to do it for 1, but it works exactly the same way for 1 camera or 10 cameras. You're going to go ahead and click IP camera. And for those administrators out there, this actually will, if you have 40 of them, you can actually make a space delineated file that has the IP address, the username, and the password, and it will just add them all.
Oh, okay.
But here, I'm going to go ahead and add a camera. I've already set up this camera at 192. We're going to call it Jason Cam. Hello, Jason Cam. 192.168.200.201. By the way, you're going to hear me say this anytime you're doing network work. Document everything. I have spreadsheets.
Write it down as you go along,
right? or you
type
could,
it in. Or...
You could cheat like me, Burke, if you go to the overhead. And all the devices I use for know-how. By the way, that's not a routable address, but you do know what all my devices for the test desk have as their username and password.
that's I don't know how I feel about that, but I guess it's just a test.
Well,
right?
I mean, to prove it, if you go back to the overhead.
Oh yeah. We know. We now know how you pick your passwords.
Exactly. If it's a know-how piece of equipment, it's got admin and know-how. John, remember that. So when I leave, if there's stuff you need to get into, admin, know-how.
Remember the name of the show. Okay.
Jason begging me.
Yes, I'm making a mental note right now.
Well, because you and Megan are going to rush and just take all this. Who's getting the monitor, by the way?
I don't know. Me? If there's any choice, I'm probably not getting the monitor. It's a really nice monitor.
Okay, go ahead and come back to my computer. So I'm going to go ahead and select the Amcrest brand. They're actually really good. Most of the time I have to choose a generic one and then just hope it works. But they've actually got the make and the model, which is kind of amazing.
All of them.
841B, there it is. All right, so, and don't mess with this. These are all the generic settings. It's got, let's see, what was that password again?
Oh, man.
It's so hard to remember.
Tech News Weekly? No, I know it was a show of some sort.
So what I'm going to do is I hit test, and now that I get a frame, I know, okay, it's got the right credentials. It's all good. I'm ready to finish that up. Freaking duh. It's going to take a little bit of time. What it has to do is it's going in and it's making sure that everything is compatible.
Okay.
It's testing the firmware of the camera to make sure that it's up to date, that it's not violating any of the safety precautions of the Synology NAS, which is another feature I really like. If you have a camera that has a horrible firmware version, the Synology will actually warn you. It says, hey, I'll add this, but
It'll still allow you to
this
add
thing
it,
hasn't
but-
been updated in 5 years, so...
Okay. That's nice.
Yeah. So go ahead and come back. And what we have is Jason Cam. If I go to the live view, here's the cool thing. This is what I really like about the surveillance station. This gives me complete control. So I'm not in the control panel for the camera. I'm in the control panel for surveillance station. And because it's like this, it means that once I start adding all my cameras, rather than having to remember all the IP addresses of all my cameras, I can just bring up the live view, which, by the way, we'll do this, the tiled view. I only have one camera, so I can't do a tiled view. But I can do like the 4 cameras in one, or the 8 cameras, or the 10 cameras in one.
Right.
And then just select which one I want and zoom in.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
So
jump right into the right camera.
there we go. So it is now recording. If you come back here, it's both recording to the local hard drive, and what we need to do now is we need to make this more useful. You mentioned. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so that red dot means that it's recording, but that's specifically saying that it's recording to what? The drive inside the camera or the drive inside the NAS?
The drive inside the NAS.
Got it.
So
Okay.
the SD card.
Yeah.
That can't be disabled externally. That was by design.
Got
so
it.
you actually
Yeah, that
have
makes
to.
sense.
You have to log into the operating system of the camera and say, no, don't record to the SD anymore. For obvious reasons. You don't want someone remote go, hey, that's just silly, let's just turn that off.
Yeah, right, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so let's make this even more useful. You said,
Yes, I did.
can I make the camera like go here and go there? Yes, you can. And Synology will do it. Now, I could set this up in the camera, but it's clunky because it means you would have to go from camera to camera to camera.
Yeah, right.
Right? And
You want master control.
Master control. And the master control is right here. So Ptz Control allows me to set certain presets. And the preset is just a position, an X and a Y coordinate. Actually, in this particular case, X, Y, and Z coordinate. Actually, in this particular case, X, Y, Z, and A coordinate, because it's also zoom.
Right.
But with this, I can go ahead and set up a list of all the places I actually want to watch. So let's do this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a preset, and we're just going to call this one first, as in first position. And what do we want to watch? Let's watch maybe up here somewhere?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, the Raptor cam.
The Raptor cam. Okay, so that's my first position. We're going to save that. Let's make a second position. It's the most useless shot ever.
I don't know. We want to make sure that no one ever steals this this camera up here.
Well, you know, people sometimes steal things, weird things. Okay, so we're going to make that second.
Okay, that's the Jammer B shot when he was over there.
When
in
he's
the corner.
there. Yeah, if he's there, the maybe
there.
Jammer B shot. And let's make a third.
If we're lucky, we'll catch Jammer B in the wild over in that corner.
And let's go ahead and make this sort of adjacent shot. Up, 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 up. Wait, no, back. Wait, whoa.
Ah! And it's fun.
The problem is I'm watching the feet. There's a little bit of a lag.
Yeah,
wait, stop.
A little bit of lag, obviously.
There we go. There you go. Okay, that's our. Okay, that's our. Oh, wait, stop. No, down. Bad camera. Down. There we go. Save it.
Okay.
All right, so I've got my first position, my second position, my third position.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool, but it would still require me to actually click first, second, third.
Right.
Better way to do it.
Okay.
Go back to my computer. Here's Patrol. I can actually say, go to these positions and wait 5 seconds each, or wait 30 minutes each.
So alternate between them.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is like what you've seen in movies where it goes from one side to the next. That's what we're going to be doing. So let's go ahead and add our patrol. First, let's call this Burke Patrol. Yeah, that's about right. And so I'm going to go ahead and add all my presets.
Okay, first, second, and third.
First, second, and third.
Interval, 5 seconds.
5 seconds each. I can also set speed if I wanted to.
Super fast or super
actually, let's see.
swooshy.
Yeah,
and
5
slow.
seconds is the lead. The problem, some people want like just continuous motion.
Yeah.
This is not designed for continuous motion. If you do continuous motion on this, you will burn it out.
You'll burn out, right?
Yeah. You actually can buy continuous motion cameras, but they're just more expensive because they have to have some sort of cooling.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to save this. Oop, did I save that or did I just delete it? Now save it. There we go. Close. All right, there we go. And now I've repeated it for all the positions, and then I'm going to preview my patrol.
Okay. Patrol.
And if you go to the overhead,
Do your work, Patrol.
and
How about the side views?
There we go.
there we go. So I'm hands off. So that's the first position. 1,
4.
There you go. 2,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There you go.
1, 2, high.
Now I have it set for one rotation right now, and it will just continue until I hit stop. But I could add as many presets to this as I wanted, and I could also do triggers. So I could say, when you're triggered by the door opening, go to these positions. Go to these positions. You know, go to the window. Then go to the display showcase.
I love that.
And you can do this for every camera in your network.
That's cool. And I mean, a 2-pack for $130, that's nothing.
That's nothing. That's nothing.
Do a lot with that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool.
All right, so one last little bit before I shut this one down, and that is people have asked, well, what happens when you fill up? Because, I mean, the NAS only has a certain amount of space.
Right.
And in this particular case, remember, we're going to be using this as a multi-purpose. So I may have a lot of files, and I may be using this actively. I don't want, of my 20 terabyte array, suddenly 19.5 terabytes are used by the DVR, and I have to go through and delete them.
Yeah.
So what I can actually do...
That happen automatically for you.
Precisely. What I can actually do is I can set it up with sort of a quota. So you go to recording, and here, this actually allows you in the advanced tab to force rotated recordings. So I'm saying once free space hits X point, so there's only 10 gigabytes free or 2 gigabytes free, whatever that might be, go ahead and delete the oldest recordings. And you know, this is a perfect system. I can say of my 20 terabyte system, I only want to use 2 terabytes for the video recorder. So when you hit 18 terabytes free, go ahead and start deleting.
So is there any way to determine how long an actual recording is, or we're just talking recording per event? So the door opens, so that initiates a recording. That happens as long as there's movement and whatever, and then once that's done, that stops the recording? Or can you go in there and say, when a recording starts, always record for X amount of time and have further control over it?
Great question. And actually, if I go into event detection, I can tell it, do I want you to go ahead and just always record, or only record when you've detected an event?
Okay.
Personally, because I have so much space on these NASs and because I have so many of them, I do continuous recording.
Right.
Because sometimes I don't trust the sensor. Maybe the motion was so minimal that it didn't trigger that threshold.
Right.
And I'm not recording in 1080p. I'm recording in 640 by 480, which could be a problem, except for the fact that gives me the ability also to go to the card, which is recording in full resolution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then if you really needed it, you could refer to that.
Precisely.
So then, but if you're always recording, it's not one long file.
It will
it's breaking it up. It'll segment them, and that's how this kind of like round robin sort of delete the oldest file actually comes into play.
Precisely. So I can say, hey, cut this up into 4-hour chunks.
Yeah.
And then it will just delete the oldest 4-hour chunk. There you go.
Now, will it do that round robin stuff on the SD card that's inside?
Well, the SD card is always recording wherever the camera is pointing.
Okay.
So
But that'll fill up too, right?
That will fill up. But I thought you meant round robin of the patrol. Yeah, it's the same thing. So once that fills up, it will just start deleting the oldest
older
recordings.
ones. Okay, cool.
And that's kind of automatic. I can actually use this camera with no network connectivity whatsoever. I could preset it, disconnect it. This is 5 volt, and it's powered off of a USB supply, so I could hook it up to a USB battery.
Bring it somewhere you need temporary security camera.
Yeah.
Just move on.
Sometimes.
Yeah, there you go.
Sometimes stuff happens, yo.
Yeah, you
as
never
they
know.
say. That's what the kids are saying.
I don't know if the kids are saying that, but more power to you.
More power to you. All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to take a look at some cool gear, but we've also got a little something extra if you've got a bunch of media files, or if, like me, you might be going away sometime soon and you'd love for your NAS to record local TV so that you can see it internationally.
Don't go away, Padre.
You're going to want to stay tabbed. But, I mean, look, if I don't go away, we can't do the cool Plex thing. Oh, Jason, stop. Actually, you know what would make you stop crying?
What?
Having an awesome website that announces who you are to the world so that you can increase your presence and become a superstar.
I'm no longer crying. Tell me more.
Yeah, folks, this episode of Know How is brought to you by WordPress. Now, we all know about the old adage, location, location, location. Well, that holds true for the internet world. You have to have a good location. You have to have a good site. You have to have a good way to present your world, your passion, your work, your portfolio. Whatever it is that you do that's creative, you want people to see exactly what you can do, which is why we're so happy to have WordPress as a sponsor of Know How. Now, if you visited our site, You know that WordPress is the center of our presence online. It reflects who we are and what we stand for. Now, I use WordPress personally because it gives me the freedom and flexibility to share my voice, my work, my way. I can make my own site. When I build it with WordPress, I can modify it the way that I need it to look. I can make it beautiful and responsive and dynamic, all by using WordPress. Now, you don't need to go to the coding or design school because WordPress provides all the tools you need to get your site up and running. Their customer support team is there 24/7 to help you. That means that's Monday through Friday and even weekends. WordPress offers powerful e-commerce options. This is important. You may not think about this when you're first setting up a site, but at some point, if your presence gets big enough, if your content gets popular enough, if enough people come to you over and over again, you're going to want a way to flip a switch and maybe start to monetize that content. Well, it's easy with their e-commerce packages, ranging from a simple and effective buy button to a complete online store. Plans start at just $4 a month, and when you're ready to expand your business's online reach, WordPress makes it easy with built-in SEO, that's search engine optimization, social sharing, and specialized plugins to meet your needs. Now, 30% of all websites in the world, no, that's not a typo, 30% of all websites run WordPress. There's a reason, because it just works. Get started today with 15% off any new plan purchase. Go to wordpress.com/knowhow to create your website. That's wordpress.com/knowhow for 15% off your brand new website. Again, wordpress.com/knowhow. And we thank WordPress for their support of Know-How. Okay, Jason, we have been talking a lot about using this NAS, and this is a new one from last week. Remember, 2 weeks ago. Remember we had that little teeny tiny one.
Yep.
A bit more capabilities. I'm kind of enamored. This is the one I'm taking with me to Rome.
Okay.
Because, well, once I stock it with SSDs, it's going to be super, super light and crazy, ridiculous fast. This is actually a device that I reviewed a while back, but I thought it might be good to take a look at again. Folks, this is a Synology 1517 Plus. Synology has impressed me year after year with network-attached storage boxes that define the SMB industry with an almost impossible combination of speed, reliability, richness of features, and affordability. They even managed to bring their NAS expertise to the incredibly crowded router market and instantly became one of the top providers of premium home networking equipment. So, when we received the Synology DS1517 Plus, expectations were high. This $700 and up box looks a lot like the exceptional 1515 Plus it replaces, but the question was, would it deliver more? The answer, yes, but also, it depends. They both have 5 drive bays. They both have 4 gigabit Ethernet ports with link aggregation that allows them to be bonded, assuming you have a capable switch for higher bandwidth. They both have 4 USB 3.0 ports and 2 eSATA ports that can be used either for single drive expansion or for connecting up to 10 drives into expansion chassis. They both are powered by quad-core 64-bit Intel Atom C2538 processors running at 2.4 GHz, and they both run the same DSM operating system. After a peek inside, however, it becomes clear that the 1517 Plus is the evolved form of the 1515 Plus. Both have upgradable memory, but while the 1515 Plus tops out at 6 GB, the 1517 Plus can be expanded to 16 GB of dual-channel memory. Both units have the ability to use an SSD as a cache to speed transfers, but while the 1515 Plus needs to use up one of its drive bays to take advantage of that feature, the 1517 Plus can use a dual M.2 SSD adapter to give you even more performance than a SATA SSD, while allowing you to continue using your 5th drive bay for more storage. Most importantly, for network geeks like myself who are chomping at the bit for just a little extra something, the DS1517 Plus has an open Gen 2 x 8 PCIe slot that can be populated with a 10 gig Ethernet adapter. In the case of our review unit, Synology has equipped the box with a dual SFP Plus card, perfect for top-of-rack operation. But if you want to use one of the less expensive 10 gig RJ45 options, the 1517 Plus also supports third-party cards that can sell for under $200. I used an SFP Plus cable and an SFP Plus desktop card to link up, mirroring what will probably be the norm for at least a while in the SMB space. 10 gig switches still tend to be a bit too expensive. Okay, so how fast is fast?
Well, you're not going to get 10 gigabit per second speed, but the results were still very impressive. With my default setup with 3 drives, I clocked a read performance of 450 megabytes per second read and a write speed of 310 megabytes per second write. That's 3,600 megabits per second read and 2,480 megabits per second write versus the 800 megabits per second read and 500 megabits per second write that I expect from 1 gig Ethernet. However, using an all SSD setup and maxing out the memory brought performance to a stratospheric 1,112 megabytes per second read and 462 megabytes per second write, or almost 9,000 megabits per second read and 3,700 megabits per second write. In other words, damn. Now, I know that some of our audience need the alphabet spec soup, so here we go. The DS1517 Plus supports 2.5-inch hard drives and SSDs, as well as 3.5-inch drives up to 10 terabytes for a max of 50 terabytes in chassis storage. Everything is powered by an internal 200-watt power supply. It has 4 RJ45 gigabit Ethernet ports, 4 USB 3.0 ports, 3 in the back, 1 in the front, and 2 eSATA ports. It can be configured for link aggregation or port failover. It can read FAT, exFAT, HFS, NTFS, ext3 and 4, and BTRFS file systems, configured into JBOD, RAID 0 through 10, as well as Synology's hybrid RAID. It can act as an iSCSI target for up to 32 devices and supports 256 iSCSI LUNs. Maximum volume size using the expansion chassis is 108 terabytes. It measures 166 millimeters by 250 millimeters by 243 millimeters and weighs about 4.5 kilos. Now that may cover raw hardware, but let's get into the software. Our Review 1517 Plus is running DSM 6.1. As much as I like the hardware, it's Synology's operating system that really makes their NASs special because it's so flexible. Want to run your network storage services entirely off the 1517 Plus? You can do that with support for up to 2,048 local users, 256 local groups, and 512 shared folders. Or you can integrate it with your 802.x ACL NFS authentication. Want to segment your network? You can individually assign each of the 4 Ethernet ports or use VLANs. Want to secure your network? Run your own email server with up to 90 clients and 20 VPN connections. That's the beauty of Synology's approach. Use it the way you want, with just the features you need. Speaking of need, I need to talk about the Synology plugin ecosystem because that is special in its field. DSM has the ability to expand the feature set with plugins that can run entirely in the OS, as well as using specialized hardware in the DS1517 Plus. Want a security camera network? Grab a few IP cameras and install Surveillance Station. You get 2 licenses out of the box and can constantly monitor, record, and notify for 10 cameras at about $50 per additional camera. Are you a cord cutter who wants to create an over-the-air network DVR? Get an inexpensive USB digital receiver and install any of a number of plugins to automatically record and stream your favorite OTA programming. Have a dead spot in your Wi-Fi coverage? Plug in a USB Wi-Fi adapter and turn your NAS into a hotspot, or why not get a 4G USB dongle to provide failover internet connectivity to your network? Want to run your own cloud office suite? Well, that's completely free, and combined with the VPN capabilities, you now have the option of having Google Docs or Office 365-like cloud convenience with the peace of mind of knowing that your data stays on your network. Or perhaps you're a media junkie and you want all your movies, music, and photos to be available to you at all times for free. Again, grab a plugin that uses the hardware transcoding capability of Synology NASs, and you're good to go. From security apps to containers, DNS servers to media organizers, there's probably more than a few Synology plugins that will be exactly what you were looking for. And that's true if you're a networking newbie who just wants a way to see your photos on your phone, or a grizzled IT guy who is over everything. In short, the price is right, the performance is exceptional, and the feature set is flexible. In fact, the only reason why the purchase of a 1517 Plus is a depends is if you already have a 1515.
You have to do the... No, I've really enjoyed playing with this NAS. It's a fantastic piece of equipment. And that's why, of all the ones that I have, this was the one that's coming with me to Rome. I've got over a dozen of these things now.
Dang.
But most of them will stay in a data center that I'm going to be able to keep in the United States. I just wanted something that was big and powerful and could run everything from containers and Docker to my Plex server. This is basically all the work that will be coming out of the Vatican for media stuff is probably going to be running through this box. Just know that.
Is there a step up from this? Like, do they have even bigger?
Yes, there are.
Heck yeah.
And actually, the folks in the chat room were quick to point out that there are more advanced models. And yeah, they arrived yesterday at my office. It's going to take me a while. We might do an unboxing. I didn't want to do an unboxing in addition to all the other hardware, but I've got the 1617 Plus and the 1817 Plus that I need to go through at some point. Again, higher capacity, but I kind of like where this is. It's been running. I have actually two of these. It's been running the online unit for the last year plus. Not a hiccup. In fact, I haven't had a hiccup from any of my Synology devices. I haven't even lost a drive, which is amazing because I used to lose drives all the time when I was still running Netgear and ReadyNAS.
And why is that? Because it's always being accessed and...
Well, no, I mean, part of it is because the drives have gotten better.
Well,
and
yeah.
They make things now like NAS-ready drives that run cooler. They run a little bit slower because they understand that you've got them in an array already. And also because devices like Synology, or manufacturers like Synology have figured out that cooling is actually kind of important. You can't just pack a bunch of drives together, put a plastic bag over it and say, well, I guess we're done.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right, we're going to show you another one of those quick features. I'm actually going to tease you with some Plex, which I know is something you want to do.
Yeah, it's something that I'm definitely very interested in. Right now at home, if I want to serve anything through to our living room TV as one example, we have a PS3 setup out there, and I can serve media to it. I have to remember to go into the den and turn on my Mac Pro, and then wait for it to load up and make sure that the external drive that has the media on it is plugged in. It's a whole convoluted
Wouldn't
mess.
it be nice if it was just always on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
okay.
would be, actually.
But first, let's take a look at some other gear. This is some stuff that I actually found last week. Megan and I went over to PepCon, and it was fun. I mean, I like those little events, especially in the Bay Area, because we get to see people who we've worked with, who maybe we haven't seen in a while. So Becky Worley was there, Shannon Morse was there, John C. Dvorak was over there, just kind of geeking out. And then we get the toys. Now, this is the first toy. If you go to, I guess the side view is probably the best. This kind of evil shark-looking thingy is actually a router. This is the Netgear Nighthawk Pro. It's an XR500.
Is it going to kill me?
It actually probably, I mean...
It kind of looks like it hates me right now.
How do you build hate into your design? It has so much hate. No, but okay, so if you go to the link, this is expensive. This is upper level. So this is along with Asus and Synology's top level gear. It's about $300. It will do everything that those others do. It's 802.11ac, dual band, dual radio. It supports multi-user MIMO, quad stream, 160 megahertz. So you've plenty of wireless bandwidth, 4 gigabit Ethernet LAN ports, a gigabit WAN port with the ability to also use that as a dual WAN. So if you wanted to hook up more than one external, you could always make sure you're connected. Dual core 1.7 gigahertz processor, 2 USB 3.0 ports that you can use for multifunction. So either hooking up storage that can be shared with everyone, and this basically becomes a small NAS, all the way up to, say, printers. You want to hook up your printer to this. It does quality of service work, and actually, that's the big thing, because all of the specs I just told you are basically found across all of the lines of the top tier vendors, right? That's sort of table stakes. You have to have good wireless, you have to have good packet forwarding, but they've done something extra, which is why they're selling this as a gaming router. This does this incredible feature, which I just started playing with, which I love, that they call geofencing. Really what it is it's WAN quality of service. So a pet peeve of a lot of gamers, let's say you're running a Minecraft server, is you will get people coming in from around the world, some of whom have horrible connections.
Sure.
And their ping times are terrible, and they're lagging, and it makes the game not fun for anybody, right? And this is not just Minecraft. This is if you're hosting a game off your Xbox One or off of your PS4. This actually allows you, there's an interface that says, I don't want any connections from Russia. I don't want any connections from Japan. I don't want any connections that are over this ping time. And it will actually keep them from joining any sessions on your machine.
That's nice.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like kind of a dick move, but it's actually better. Those people should be joining servers that have better connections for them. Also, I may have used it once or twice to keep specific players out of my gaming sessions, which is fun because you don't have to do anything on the console. It's not like you have to hack the console. You just tell this, oh, that's where that guy is. No, never allow that IP address.
And do they know? Will they ever find out?
No, it just doesn't show up. They can't even see your sessions.
It was me. It's me. I know.
Eric Deckman says, it keeps out the poor people. You and your DSL, how quaint. Sorry, no, that was a really bad imitation. Okay, so we're going to take an in-depth look at this because I do want to run it through its paces. It also, kind of like the Synology router and NAS, this will run apps. This actually, I think, will run Plex.
Oh, really?
You can run Plex off of I'm not a big fan of that just because I think my router should be my router. I kind of want it to focus on that and not any of the other features. And also because I don't want what sometimes happens, which is features sometimes because someone flipped the wrong switch, suddenly they're available outside the network, like UPnP. That happens all the time. But we'll take an in-depth look at this, and we'll give you an honest opinion in a couple of weeks on whether or not this is something that you want. Now, there is something else that I saw that I said, okay, you have to send me one of these because I've been waiting for something like this. That NAS has a 10 gig interface. I have 10 gig interfaces because I have enterprise gear. I have switches that were ridiculously expensive that are all 10 gig, but I love all the extra bandwidth. What I've been looking for is something to bring that down to the consumer level where you can get 10 gig at a price that's not ridiculous and not $2,000–$3,000. And actually, Netgear did that. This is something else from their Nighthawk line. This is actually powering everything on the table right now. This is their, if you go to the link for this, this is the Netgear Nighthawk Pro gaming switch. I think they call it the GS810EMX. Now this is a 10-port switch, but 2 of those ports are 10 gig Ethernet, which is ridiculous. It's only $225. For that price, you're not going to find this. I mean, this is kind of unique. And also feel this.
Ooh,
yeah, right.
It's got some weight to it.
It's actually it's a metal chassis.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
not a plastic chassis.
That's not at all what I expected when
Right?
I picked it up. That's nice.
It's actually really nice. And then they call it a gaming switch. Okay, I'm focusing on the bandwidth. Two dual 10 gig interfaces is incredible. In fact, you could even just use that if you wanted to chain a couple of these together. Those 10 gig interfaces allow you to have far more bandwidth between the switches. Because one thing that you will run out of is if you have a lot of 1 gig devices and then you chain it with a 1 gig interface to another switch, you're constraining everything, right? With 10 gig, basically every device here has great access, just as good access to any other switch that might be chained to it via a 10 gig port. Yeah. It also does, okay, this is stupid. This is so stupid, but I'm going to play with this a lot. It allows you to assign the colors of the LEDs and their flashes based on what's happening. That's totally nerdy. Totally nerdy. Completely. I acknowledge that, but when I started playing with that last night, I'm like, yes!
Okay, so then practical example, like why would you want to do that?
Because when I do LAN parties, I actually use color-coded cables.
Okay.
And so I can actually change the LED color to the color of the cable, and I know exactly which port that should be plugged into.
That sounds like a good idea.
It makes it really easy to track back devices because I go, oh, I'm having a problem with yellow. Well, I know exactly where yellow is plugged in all my devices because it's the same color cable, same color LED.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
So, but also, I like LEDs. I'm not going to lie about that. I love them. They're great. All right. Okay, so those are devices that we're going to be doing a first look. You're also going to see it on the new screensavers as soon as I get an honest opinion, because I've got the top-of-the-line Synology, I've got the top-of-the-line Asus, now I've got the top-of-the-line Netgear. I want to see how they work against each other.
This one feels so cheap compared to
I know. Well, just look,
beast.
this already looks mean. If they had made this all metal, it would have killed you.
Yeah.
And then taken you off.
Don't drop it on your foot.
All right. We promised you some Plex, and it's time to get Plexy.
All right, let's get Plexy.
I should never say that.
Sounds weird.
I should never say that again.
But let's do it anyway.
Let's do it anyway. All right. So Plex, if you come back to my computer, Plex is just another plugin. So I've gone ahead and installed this already because Plex takes a while to build the library. It actually has to, get all the information from the internet. So this is my Plex media server. How do I say this?
I don't know.
Plex is super easy except when it's not.
Okay. It's not. Is it not 100% dependable at all times?
Well, no. The service is dependable. Here's what happened. They actually forked Plex because they needed to make some changes that were going to change the way that the thing worked. But most of us were relying on the automatic updates. That's one of the nice things about the plugins and the operating system of a Synology. It's set for automatic update, so it would just automatically update. When they forked, there was no ability to automatically update that Plex. So what happened was it looked like it was running. Everything was fine. The software came up fine. The server came up fine, but it wasn't finding any media files. And if I didn't know, if I didn't think, oh yeah, that's right, they forked it, I had to go to the site, get a manual package, and do a manual update. The operating system was reporting everything was fine. If I was a noob who was just using this, I'd be like, well, I guess Plex is broken and just delete it. So yeah, Plex, bad on you, don't do that. But let's go and go into the service, because it's actually a lot of fun. If I go into Plex, here we go. So this is showing me things that I already have loaded. I've preloaded some media here. I can take from media that I have on my NAS. So I put a bunch of YouTube videos that I've downloaded. But I could also put DVDs. So that like all my ripped DVD collection, I can put it in here. The nice thing about it is it will serve it out as a DVD to the devices without me having to install special software and everything.
So you mean you're running a DVD in... Explain that again.
So I rip it. So when
you've ripped it. Okay.
So I ripped it, and
I missed the ripping part. I was like, wait a minute, who has a DVD?
No. You just put them on top of the NAS. And it just
it's amazing technology.
It's crazy space age stuff, folks. No, so you've ripped all the DVDs. You've got them into the NAS. But this will allow you to have an inventory. If you go back to my computer, so like an inventory of all the movies that you might have, and you can make playlists of the types of movies. You can separate them into the genres. It's kind of like what you do with your music. You can also do plugins. I love the plugins. So if there's, like for example, Twit TV, this will automatically download all my Twit TV podcasts and my Comedy Central bits. So they're available for me on my device wherever I go in the world. I can also do things like, and this is the one that we're gonna try in 2 weeks, I can do local TV. This can be my DVR with an over-the-air antenna. Technically I could do it with a cable card, but I wanna do it for free. We all get high-definition TV over the air. This can actually record it and make it available for me no matter where I am in the world.
Very nice.
Yeah. And let me show you, actually, if I remember where I put my phone, let me show you what it looks like. Now, I actually did pay for a lifetime pass. It does cost. You could pay monthly, you could pay yearly, or you could do what I did, was buy lifetime, because I waited for a Black Thursday, and there was a Plex lifetime pass for like $29.
Oh, yeah.
So what I would say is wait for that, because it's totally worth it. You pay once and you've always got it.
And Plex been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah, they're not going anywhere. And the nice thing is the support has been integrated into a lot of smart TVs.
Right.
So if you're one of these people who hates the fact that none of the apps work properly on your smart TV, Plex probably still does. And that's a really good way to use it. So if you go to the overhead, so I'm going to start up Plex. Actually, I should probably turn down the... There we go. Wait till, okay, let's do, so these are some of the videos that I have loaded up. Golf fails. I must have been downloading stuff from my dad, I think.
That aerobics one?
That was a yoga fail. Funny animals. Funny animals are always good. So this is not actually going to download it to my phone. What it's going to do is it's going to stream it. So the Plex server plugin on the NAS is going to transcode that video in real time to the best possible quality video for my phone, considering the connection. And this is actually going out. This is out of the network. It's not connected to the same router. So we go ahead and play this. And that was actually pretty immediate. Wait.
And so, it probably takes just a few seconds to kind of like catch up with itself almost, because it's doing the transcoding in real time.
Right, exactly. So this
kind of stuttered a little bit there at the very beginning. Oh no! Oh man,
it's a dog thing. It's an animal thing, Burke. You know, it's all good. Oh, look at that. Oh, see, that's me. That's totally me. That's me trying to wake up every morning like no.
So this is streaming in real time from the NAS.
From the NAS out through our internet connection over my cellular connection to my phone.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, that's
great.
Which is fantastic. And if you want to know how to do that, you need to watch Synology Madness 1 because we actually showed you. We're cool like that.
Good.
Yeah.
There we go.
But
and that could be really handy if you're traveling, but you still want to watch your TV from home.
that's what I'll be using it for because Italian TV does not excite me. I like the F1 coverage. That's about it. Everything else is pretty bad. So what I will have is the online version of this right now. So the one I currently have in my network is actually going to stay at the school that I'm living at. It's going to be buried in a network closet, but it will have connection to an over-the-air antenna and a USB tuner that's on the roof. So it will record all my programs. It will delete the older ones as it starts to run out of space, and I can use Plex to come back in and watch English programming.
How often do you come back to check on it?
Oh, well, I can get notification.
Oh, okay.
So it's, I just recorded your new show. And I can change the schedule. So I can say, I don't want this show anymore, record this instead.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a good plan.
You're going to see that in Synology Madness 3 to come back. Well, Jason, I could keep going on, but we're kind of out of time.
All right.
This was enough, right?
Yeah, I think so.
The security camera thing is cool. And actually, when we get you your NAS, you got to set these things up, right?
Cool. Yep.
And actually, I'll show you, there's a follow mode that you can enable. So it will just follow your kid.
Wait a minute. Oh, with the camera?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You shouldn't
That'll
do
be
that. But it's kind of cool. It's creepy, but it's cool. It's cool. Folks, we know this was a lot of information, but we want to make it very easy for you to do the projects that we just did. You just have to go to our show page. Jason, where's that?
twit.tv/KH.
Just go to the K. Just go to the K. That's right. If you go there, you're going to find all of our back episodes, all 382, which is ridiculous, folks. Holy wow. We just started the show, 6 years ago?
We just started it 6 years ago.
6 years ago. Yeah. Oh, look, go back. They changed the title. I like this. It now says Know How with Father Robert, Jason Howell, and Megan Maroney.
Oh.
Yeah, and Cranky Hippo is still in the picture. I love this. We're kind of fun here, folks. Also, if you're there, you can subscribe. This is the best way to support the show. If you like Know How, if you like these projects, if you want us to continue doing what we're doing, go ahead and subscribe. Get an audio version, a video version, or a high-definition video version automatically into your device of choice. And make sure to watch it and spread the word. We want to keep doing what we're doing, and we think we're doing what you want. So please, twit.tv/KH. Yeah. Of course, we do socials. That's like the big thing now, right? We're social.
Totally social around here.
Totes Soch. But you can be Totes Soch with us at Google+. Totes Soch. Wow. I'm so hip. But just go to Google+, look for Know How, ask to join. There's a very short approval process that I used to keep out the spam accounts. But once you're in, you get access to almost 12,000 Kitas. Those are our know-it-alls. You can post questions that get answered by members. You can answer questions from other members, or you could put pictures and videos of your projects so we can put them here on Know How. Of course, that's not the only social Totes Soch that we do. What's your Totes Soch?
My Soch is Jason Howell on the Twitters.
It sounds dirty even saying that. It sounds so douchebaggery.
My Soch.
Yeah, and you can Totes find me on my Soch at twitter.com/PadreSD. Totes Soch. Also, the third member of our crew, he's standing in, he's done a phenomenal job today, is Burke is it For the Burke? At twitter.com/ForTheBurke.
Totes my goats.
It's twitter.com/TotsMyGoats. But you can find Burke there. Until next time, I am Father Robert Balaser.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And now that you know how,
go Totes do it.